Psalm 147, verses 4 and 5 are among my favorites in the Bible. And this devotional is called They're Named. And here's what those verses say. He determines the number of the stars and calls them each by name. Great is our Lord and mighty in power, and his understanding has no limit. So I've often marveled at the fact that God calls each of the stars by name. I mean, why would he? There are so many, and they're not even alive human beings, so why would he give them names? So let's think about this amazing verse and the reality of it. There are so many stars. How long would it take God to count them? And does he record them so that he can remember which is which? And look at all of them, their sizes, their differences, and think of the time that it would take to name them all, the paper and the books it would fill to record all their names, and the tiredness that would result from doing such a task. Maybe that's the point, that none of this is too difficult, or it's not even a chore for the great Lord whose power is mighty and his understanding has no limit. We cannot fathom such a task, the chore, or even the purpose behind it, but he can name them each by name in a flash without the need of a recording device because his understanding has no limit. Isaiah 40 says, "To whom will you compare me? Or who is my equal, says the Holy One? Lift up your eyes and look to the heavens. Who created these? He who brings out the starry host one by one and calls them each by name. Because of his great power and mighty strength, not one of them is missing." This is a great chapter, but we'll focus on those verses later. But they tell us again that he brings out the starry host one by one and calls them by name. So practically and simply speaking, God pays attention to detail, vast numbers, and impossible tasks, and they're all nothing for him because he's powerful and mighty in performing even the daunting task of naming and counting the stars so that not one is missing. We recently stayed in an Airbnb in Huntsville, Texas, where the Walls Unit, a big prison, is located, and throughout the day, the prisoners are counted and a foghorn sounds. Then it sounds again when they're all accounted for. And that count is to establish that order is taking place below, and it brings comfort to those that hear that danger is corralled and everyone can sleep without fear. We heard the foghorn several times. And I know that many of us are concerned about our children, both adults and small ones alike, and there are vast numbers of children in the world. Some that have lost their way, who are seemingly unreachable and impossible to understand. Maybe they seem like the stars that have lost their twinkle in a huge black hole of the sky. And maybe we've lost hope of these shining stars ever becoming visible to him again, and there's nothing we can do. That's when we can look up and read these verses again, that he names them, he brings the stars out by one, his power and understanding is infinite, and not one of the stars is missing. And remember last time we read how his love endures forever. So he holds our children, he names them, and to know that is huge and important. We don't talk much about a love that holds, but a love that endures forever and has the power to name the stars and not have one come up missing, causing an alarm to be sounded to awake the town that it's on high alert. This is huge to realize. No child that's wandered off is lost in the eyes and heart of God because he knows them by name, and no amount of years or wandering can obscure them from his vision or his call because he named them when he formed them, and he loves them and he holds them. When we learned about the reason for that foghorn, we sighed and we thought, how cool. The guards stand watch and they count and assure and secure that those outside can rest that safety is near. Of course, human guards make mistakes and prisoners do escape and danger lurks. But not so with the guardian of our souls, the maker of the stars, the name caller who counts them. There's never going to be a sound of alarm because all is well in the heavens and below. So take heart and take comfort in the fact that he knows them and calls them by name, and not one is missing of our children. All of that up there is a reminder to us down here that he knows our names and his love endures forever. For our children, their children, and the descendants to come, so numerous but so named because he loves everyone.